And just by ticking off one little percent per day, we can get closer and closer to it. And by the time you know it, you'll actually achieve what you wanted to. So yeah, I very much resonate with that quote.
Are you ready to unlock your full potential and achieve your personal, professional, and financial goals? Welcome to Remarkably Simple, the podcast dedicated to helping you do just that. I'm Moneke Fields, and I believe that with the right strategies, anyone can achieve remarkable results. Whether you're a seasoned leader or just starting a business, this podcast is your guide to achieving your goals with simplicity and efficiency. Let's embark on this journey together and make success simple. Hi, welcome to this episode of Remarkably Simple. I'm excited to introduce you to my guest, Luke Kingston. He is many different things to many different people, a brother, a friend, a coach. But what separates Luke from others is what he stands for. He places heavy emphasis on self-development, growth, and discovery. Luke challenges himself daily through his dedication and commitment to martial arts and fitness, always seeking new skills and knowledge and pushing his limits through challenges and competitions. He does this while staying true to himself and spreading positivity to everyone he meets, encouraging those around him to become more fulfilled versions of themselves. This would not be possible without Luke's relentless work ethic. He aspires to get better every day, and his discipline and sacrifice to improvement has resulted in the creation of his coaching business, which is committed to helping you build the bulletproof mindset that will become self-awareness. Luke, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much, Monique, for that introduction. Yeah, pleasure to be here.
So I would love if you could just help us get started and give our audience a little bit of a context for your background and the work that you're doing today.
Yeah, so I guess it started a little while back in 2022 is when I pulled the trigger and I really said to myself, you know what, you've got to do something with your life here. And before that, I was working in a pretty famous pub chain in the UK. I'm from the UK in London, called Weatherspoons, and I used to work there as a manager in charge of the people, the training, and stuff like that. And that was my favorite part of the business, the training, helping people progress, and the customer complaints, and the dealing with the plates, and the food, and the people, all the people, the contractors, that side of thing. It wasn't for me. But what I did find joy in that within that business was the people side of things. And one day I was kind of having a conversation with one of the customers there called Cyrus, who now is a very good friend of mine, who introduced me to life coaching. And he knew I was kind of in and out with the training and whatnot. And he thought I would be good at life coaching and introduced me to a course with the Mo Foundation, which is a charity that gives life coaching courses. And I thought to myself, you know what, why not just give it a go and see how it goes? So I went on the course. I was probably one of the youngest there. Actually, I probably was the youngest there. Very uncomfortable. But the more I got to know the people around me, got to learn the skills of coaching, the skills of listening, the skills of asking questions, structuring, helping people in a different kind of way. Because I always saw myself as a person who was good at giving advice, but not as a person that would actually know how to help them in a structured way, in a professional way. And coaching gave me that. And yeah, ever since I completed that course, I feel like I saw the light, and I saw my light, and I went to get accredited, my accredited coaching certifications. I essentially didn't look back, and now I'm creating my personal business, coaching business, Kingston Coaching. I've helped a lot of youth organizations, what I'm doing right now. And later this year, sorry, I will be starting to go into prisons to do some coaching as well, which I'm very excited about. So that's where I'm kind of at right now, and the future has a lot of coaching for me, I think.
Yeah, so I love how you relate that you were in a leadership position I'm guessing you got there because you were really good at your job, focused, dedicated, and bringing good energy to the work. So you didn't know from outside of that role that maybe that just was not the way that you were bent. But I also love how you relate that being in that role really had a benefit for you because it helped highlight and allowed you to see how much you really enjoyed serving people. It sounds like it also perhaps gave someone who was close to you the ability to see this special spark that you had for serving others, where they made this suggestion that you explore life coaching. Um, so a lot of times when we are in this place where we are serving and helping others to realize their fullest potential and accomplish their goals, I think it can be balanced with the personal challenges that we have. And I wonder how much your own individual work as a coach comes into play with the work that you do with other people and how it is that you speak about that.
Yeah, so I guess I've had a lot of challenges going into this space and kind of throwing myself into this space. I feel like one of those major challenges that I had was imposter syndrome
Hmm.
going into it. And I think it's one of the things that a lot of people go through in any path. It's at the start, you're not really fresh with what you're talking about, what you're doing, and you kind of feel like an outcast in the place that you want to be. And it's a very normal thing. Um, the more I speak to people nowadays, it's I'm finding that it's more and more people going through the same thing, and it's just about navigating how to kind of control those bad feelings inside of you, which could be seen as a positive feeling as well, because it's kind of where you want to go. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
agree that the thing that you get this message perhaps from your body in a sensation or from your mind in a fearful thought or
mm,
self-doubt, but that we sometimes read those messages the wrong way. We read them to mean we should retreat, that we should retract, that we should slow down, that we should stop or go in a different direction. And often those are prompts that let us know that we're headed in the right direction, right? That they are mistaken for the kinds of messages and intuition that we receive when we really are headed in the wrong direction. It's a very different message to get it's like how you know you're getting outside of your comfort zone and that you're growing when you're presented with these sensations that feel like this is uncomfortable. I don't feel comfortable here, right? So having pushed through that, you've developed a passion and a focus for youth. And you said that you're going to be working soon in prisons. I would love if you would just relate some of the things that you're seeing that youth are struggling with and what it is that you teach or do to help them.
yeah. So I would definitely say, well, we can start off with imposter syndrome. Um, we kind of touched on that, and it's one of those things where the person really wants to do something with their life or wants to take a step in the right direction, but they don't have enough evidence to support taking that step. And I think it kind of links to that fear of, there's a lot of different kind of fears. There's the fear of the unknown, the fear of failure, the fear of judgment, the fear of success even. And all of these different types of fear are stuff that can hold us back because we don't wanna mess up. We're kind of wired in a way to want to be perfect, even though
Mhm.
no one will ever be perfect. I will never be perfect, and I will say that happily. But what we need to work on is just consistently trying to improve ourselves and learn from our mistakes, reflect and learn from what we've done maybe wrong in the past, because that's
Mhm.
what's truly going to make us grow. And relating that to the young people that I work with, um, I feel like there's a lot of pressure that they put on themselves to do well, and they don't want to let said maybe family down, friends down, people around them that maybe they feel like have a certain perception of them, and taking that step might be it might push them in the right direction, but it might have maybe a negative
Mhm.
or a setback in a way that can come from it. So they don't want to go through that. And maybe they haven't faced enough adversity in the past to know that they can actually get through the said uncomfortable situation. And that's where maybe I would come in to question them on any limiting beliefs that they may have, because limiting beliefs are a real thing. I've had them, a lot of people around me had them. I think everyone has some form of limiting belief in their life. And it's about working through them and just understanding where they come from and how we can manage them. Because yeah, managing those thoughts can sometimes they can come out of nowhere. They can be distorted and they can be not fact, but they can sometimes bring us down a little bit. So it's about managing.
So you talk about those thoughts that can be not fact. And I agree with you that in coaching you encounter, it sometimes is easier to help see the um, very convincing but not necessarily accurate thinking in someone else. And it's a more challenging practice, or you need to be consistent with the practice in order to develop the ability to catch your own thinking when you are having those misleading thoughts. But something you said earlier about the work that you do with young people, that very often they can't access or find enough examples or evidence of times when they have been successful at a particular thing. And I don't know if you find this to be true, but I've observed that very often, as you said, we're conditioned to find the evidence of what we can't do. And I
Mm,
think it takes intentional training and practice to learn to search for evidence that we can. And quite often it's just this simple shift in, the practice that you're working with someone, that they are building up the case for the evidence of this thing that they feel imposter with, and reinforcing for themselves this belief. But I don't know about you. I learned that this comes from action. That, our tendency is to wait, to hold back. We think we're not ready, and that when we're ready, we'll start doing the things, but it's actually the reverse, that we start doing the things and that's how we get ready.
mm. Yeah, I 100% agree with you on that one. It's it's something that I had to learn the hard way. I also thought that I wasn't 100% ready, so I would put things off. And then when I realized that I was taking the action and I started to, then things were actually going better for me. And you can kind of look at it as like a glass half full and a glass half empty. And a lot of people in the world view the world as a negative place, and negative things happen. And they're right, negative things do happen. But I also believe there's an abundance for everyone to achieve everything that they want or everything that they desire. And it's just about, like you said, taking the action. And by taking the action, you will feel a lot more comfortable with the next step and the next step and the next. And yeah, it's until you do take the action and and do what you need to do, you're not going to feel ready. No one's ever going to feel ready. I wasn't ready to jump into a coaching role when I first started, but I had to throw myself into that kind of deep end in a way and learn how to swim.
I love when you talk about this analogy, because if this episode catches the ears of anyone who worked with me as a teacher when I was a school administrator, this is an analogy that I used very often, that we needed to be the kinds of coaches who would put our students in the deep end of the pool, and perhaps, yes, with the little floaties on, but not on the edge, holding on to the side of the pool and practicing our kicks, right? That we
Mm,
we would we would develop that competency, the whole competency, much more efficiently, effectively, and quickly if we have to do it in the full context of the work. So when you relate this back to something like the work that you and I do with coaching, it absolutely is true that at some point you put the textbook down and you have to reach out and say to people, this is how I can help, and offer what you can. But you also make this really important analogy about one step at a time. We're often thinking about the target, and perhaps we want to function at 100% and be offering the best services out there. But we won't ever get to that place if we don't start where we are and improve incrementally, whether it's at 1% or 2% or 3% with each action. Um, But I recently heard one expert who encourages people that he works with to make the target to improve by 1% every day. Now, when I heard someone say 2%, I was super excited. I thought everybody can make a 2% increase. Everyone can improve by 2%. Everyone can also improve by 1%. And for those of us who have, exceptional dreams and standards and we like to challenge ourselves, then we can set our target however we want to set our target, right? But the key is about consistently taking those steps and those actions that you're inclined to do that really build toward the goal that you've identified. And I think if you're helping youth do this at whatever age they are, this has to be setting them up for success. And that brings me to ask you the question about any examples for those of us who are dedicated to and passionate about the young people and the next generation. What are some examples of, for lack of a better word, triumph that you're seeing by applying these strategies with young people that you work with?
Yeah, I would definitely share one, but I just wanted to quickly just on your point of the 1%, I bit my tongue when you said that because that's
Yeah.
something that I truly live by, and I try my best to get other people to see it as well, the improvement of the 1% daily, because I just feel like there's the goals that we put out for ourselves are so high, and there's so many steps that we need to go through, and just by ticking off one little percent per day, we can get closer and closer to it. And by the time you know it, you'll actually achieve what you wanted to. So yeah, I very resonate with that, very much resonate with that quote.
What you just said, and I want you to share the example too, but this made me think about something because very often it's the inaction that keeps us from achieving the goal. We start out making improvement by 1%, but I think that 1% gets compounded like most things over time.
Yeah.
When you're consistently, let's say that 1% looks like improving your morning routine and waking up with a specific intention to what I like to call win the day, and you have particular strategies that you do to set yourself up for that. For some people, it looks like putting your clothes out at night so that you're not having what I used to have, which is closet drama. I can never decide what I want to wear in the morning. There are too many choices. I'm foggy in the brain. I need to do it in the night. And, maybe that looks like waking up first thing in the morning and having that goal for the day as your intention and expressing gratitude and getting up and taking on the day with that attitude. Well, at a certain point, you're not spending energy producing that action in the morning. It's like automatic. So you get to take leaps. It starts out as 1%. That's all that you need to do to keep moving forward and improving. But I don't think that it stays at 1%. I think that over time, that 1% naturally increases because of the power and the foundation that you've laid with those practices that you really have embedded into your routine and your character and your attitude so that they are changing who you are. When you show up as a better person and you're improving by 1%, it's really more than 1% is the point that I want to make. And I
Yeah.
think that that is, I'm glad to hear that that resonates with you because I think it is so simple. Very often we're making the goal so big in our mind that we tell ourselves it's not possible. When in actuality, not only is it possible, it's simple. All we have to do is just get started doing the part that we can right away.
Mm. Yeah, momentum.
Yes, absolutely. Perfect word. So tell us about examples where you get to see this happening with young people, which is really exciting.
Yeah, thinking back to, I'm gonna share my second client ever, who I met through a networking group, who was 16, 17 at the time, very socially, not socially awkward, but very socially shy and timid, and his communication skills weren't the best, and he didn't feel like he knew what he wanted to do in life. He was quite smart, and he didn't want to rebel against the school system or anything, but he knew that his calling wasn't, say, academics.
Mm-hmm.
And he came to me and we worked through a lot of different exercises. But the main philosophy was the philosophy of action and the philosophy of taking consistent steps week in, week out. And by the end of the three months that we spent together, he was essentially a completely different person. And it got to about the like the eighth or ninth session out of 12, and he sent me a message saying how he dealt with the situation, how he would have dealt with the situation if he didn't change his sort of personality or his communication skills. And he was very proud to sort of know that he did change and he did go through uncomfortable situations of talking to different people, trying out new techniques. And we just recently had a FaceTime call, I think a month or two ago, just to catch up. And he then also sort of thanks me again and kind of told me about all the good things that were happening in his life and all the opportunities that he's got from these better communication skills, and now he's about to finish his A levels, which is just before you turn 18 in the UK. And he's got like role model sort of roles in the school where he's mentoring and coaching the younger children now, which it just kind of like fulfills my heart,
Mm-hmm.
to know that he's doing good things in his life. So yeah, I'd mention him.
So this is such a great example of the power that each person holds by just becoming aware of not only their patterns, but also their capability. It's like he's holding these two things and he remembers vividly his old way of being
Mm,
and is now so consistently choosing this other option that he sees is accessible to him. I genuinely love that in a coaching relationship, you have the opportunity to partner with someone that you don't get to decide what their future is. He's writing back to you, you know, months and months or years and years later to tell you about what he is choosing for himself,
that's right.
but that you got to participate in creating that space where it was safe for him to try out this new identity, this new way of being that he obviously had entertained and in some way hoped for, but
Mm,
perhaps didn't exactly know how to access. And
that's
now
right.
he owns it, which is so exciting. I don't know this person, and I'm just, like vibrating with chills just thinking about what it means to be insecure and feeling inadequate, wherever that's going to take you. And instead being the leader of yourself and now turning around and facilitating as a mentor the same experience for people younger than you, which is, I think, exactly what those of us who hope the best for the world want to see happening around us.
Yeah, I agree. And one of the questions I always ask my clients or my coachees, at the start is, if you don't say, when we've spoken about their ideal future and what they want for themselves and the idea of entertainment and what they desire, it's what will happen if you don't go and take the action now? And I guess the answer is pretty simple. Nothing changes. And when the person kind of realizes that, if they don't actually take action and nothing will change, will they be happy with that kind of life? And for Ben's sake, it was no. He didn't want to be the same and stay in that mindset or that insecure way, but he took action, he worked on himself, and he became a 10x better version of himself, which he's truly proud of. And that wasn't because I told him what to do, because that's not what I do. It's
Mhm.
because I was there, I listened to him, I asked him questions that were thought-provoking and open-ended, and it kind of helped him to find his own, like you said, his own path, his own destiny, and he's still on a massive journey in his life, but he now has the tools to navigate that a lot better than if he didn't make the change in the beginning. So yeah, and I'm very proud of him.
We could just piggyback off of each other on and on. You just mentioned the concept 10x, which I think is all around the world. It's used in a variety of different ways, but it just made me think about when we talked about the practice that you do at the beginning of your coaching relationship, which is, I would say it's standard for, um, you know, good coaching, that we just get clear on who you are and what you want, right? What is it that you truly desire? But I love that you ask him the question. You ask him to visit the place, the worst case scenario, as I like to call it, as I've learned to call it, what it looks like if that is what happens. If it doesn't go well, if you take no action, whatever that worst case scenario looks like for you. And you started out by envisioning what would be the best case scenario. So the math or doing the math, right, for life would be estimating the difference between that gap. Because
Mm,
just about anything would be better than the worst case scenario. And of course, it would be fantastic to achieve exactly the vision that you have or better. But I think when we talk about the 10x concept, whether you hit the exact target or you surpass it is irrelevant because you are leagues beyond where you would have been if you had chosen to take no action or just resign to stay exactly where you were. That's so powerful. But this is an example of what we just discussed about this compounding over time. This now 18-year-old has these tools where he understands the power of his awareness of himself. He has practiced with you, calling out his insecurity and challenging himself to step beyond those. He's practicing what it means to turn back and get even stronger with these skills by supporting someone else as a mentor. And he has the rest of his life ahead of him to continue taking exactly these two things. What do I really want? What would happen if I choose to stay exactly where I am at every crossroad from now on? And that to me is so fascinating because there's just I'm going to make up a word, maybe it is a word, but inestimable potential for
I
his
like that. I
future.
like that.
Yeah, I just think that is so exciting for me. And I was just having a conversation with someone in a consultation the other day, and we were talking about how, sometimes people say life is a journey. And for sure, it takes a lifetime to live, right?
Mm.
But the change of a direction, that's instant. We can instantly change and decide, just deciding, do I want to stay the same or do I want to improve? And it's just that simple. The rest, 1% at a time. Staying the same, maybe it doesn't even require 1%. It's easy. Just be a couch potato. So I think this is so, so lovely. And we have been talking for a little bit, but I have a question that I want to ask you as we wrap up because it's a sort of futuristic one. But tell me, where would people find you if they wanted to know more about Luke and the services that he offers for children? I'm over here in the United States and you're in the UK. Perhaps people want to know how they would work with you online or what types of services you offer.
Yeah, so I do a lot of different type of things, predominantly coaching for young people anywhere from 15, 16 to about 30. And I have coached people older than that as well. And where you can find me is you can find me on my website, www.kingstoncoaching.org. And I've just recently put out a few YouTube videos as well on YouTube, Kingston Coaching. And I post on Instagram, kingston.coaching, and I'm on LinkedIn as well. So you can find me on those kind of platforms, and Kingston Coaching, Luke Kingston will probably be there somewhere.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So, you told us at the start of our conversation that one of the things that you're excited about that's coming for you in the future is some work in prisons. And
Mm.
I don't know if it's appropriate for you to detail the kind of work that you'll be doing or just what it is that you're after by targeting those individuals. But it's very intriguing to me as
Mm.
I've had very close family members, parents who were young people and, fell into habits or practices that landed them learning some hard lessons, so to speak. So I would love to hear about what it is that you um, are up to or after with the project that's going to be starting in the later part of the year.
Yeah, so I recently just completed my training. So essentially how it works is we deliver a very powerful 3-day workshop called the Hero's Journey. The Hero's Journey is quite a um popular in the book or in movies. But it's about self-awareness and it's about change and it's about understanding that change is always happening and it will never stop. And it's about
Mhm.
embracing the change and accepting the change rather than neglecting it or declining it. And there's very personal exercises there that help you to understand who you are better within a group, within like a safe environment, even though it's in the prison, it is in an enclosed group with a safe environment led by myself and another workshop facilitator. And then after that, we do one-to-one coaching for the participants of that workshop. If they desire, if they don't, then that's fine. Um, and the way I'll coach the prisoners will be the exact same I coach anyone else. I won't judge them. It's more about finding what they want for themselves, seeing where they are right now and what's the action that they need to take. And the reason that I wanted to do this was because I wanted to work with people that no one wants to work with. And growing up in London, I've been around a lot of different type of people. Some people that have been led down the wrong path. Um, and I kind of can resonate with how it goes like that and how it is. So I wanted to be a part of the change, and I feel like if and when I can go there and deliver change and help someone turn their life around, that will just add to my fulfillment. It's kind of a
Hmm.
selfish way of saying I want to make a change to make me happy. Is it, if that's being selfish, then fair enough. But that's how it is in my heart.
Yeah, I think it's beautiful. And the hero's journey sounds like a compelling way for an individual to experience transformation. And I think the context where you want to deliver that, the first thought in my mind was that you had a captive audience and that this perhaps, in a time of isolation or hardship, loneliness, we can be perhaps more reflective than at other times. And I challenged myself that that environment really is not that, that there are conflicts just like there are in the world outside of those institutions, however different and perhaps contained differently. And you identify something very important that perhaps every person who encounters this training is not going to be um, ready or willing to make that transition and to do the work, which is exactly the same as with you and I. Ultimately, our development, our life, our thinking and way of being is our choice. And um, I think that it's very honorable that you are serving yourself in a way that is really all about empowering other people and helping them get access to the tools that they have to be um, really empowered in their own life. And thank you in advance for that. It sounds very worthwhile and again honorable to serve individuals who perhaps are not on the long list of agencies and organizations that want to. Maybe even sometimes people have given up on those being a worthy cause. And I look forward to being in contact with you to hear how that's going once it gets started.
Yeah, it's gonna be a journey.
Absolutely. So, this has been such an intriguing conversation. And again, I look forward to being able to follow your work and hear more stories about the contribution that you are making to other people's growth. And I just want to thank you for taking this time with me and sharing our conversation with the audience who will listen today.
Thank you so much, Monique, for having me. It was actually very, very fun for me to be here today. So yeah, just want to say thank you one more time.
All right. Have a great day, everybody.